So in today's episode, you are in for a massive treat if you want to both be successful in the collectible space, learn a thing or two about the collectible space, or you just want to be entertained, because my guest today, Jeremy Padawer, he is a genius of his craft and a legend in the industry. So it was really great to talk to him, learn a little bit more about his story, and talk Pokemon cards and everything collectibles. So without any further ado, enjoy. See ya. I grew up such a fan of sports memorabilia and sports cards, and I'm really excited that this show is both going to highlight that as well as the awesome entrepreneurs that make it all possible. Let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into another episode of Talking Shop. Today with Jeremy Padawer.
Yo, what's up, Buster?
How's it going, man? Good to see you. Good to have you in. We have a lot to cover. I reached out to you first and foremost because I saw an article online. I saw a couple posts floating around, and we were talking about this right before we went live. There are a lot of people that know that the collectible game and the sports card game are going in a beautiful direction, but not as many people in your position are jumping on that, and in a really, really big way. And that we'll get into kind of what the article was, but you made a big acquisition for your personal collection, which I am just blown away by and very impressed, and just wanted to congratulate you personally.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, I picked up a 1999 all PSA 10 graded, 1 through 102, and a couple extras. 1999 base set, first edition Shadowless Pokemon. And as it turns out, it's the highest price paid, but then 129,500. But then I did I spent a few minutes going through each individual card and looking at the latest sale, and it adds up well over 150. So I feel like right off the bat, I created value. And I'll take you through a little bit of why and how and these things happen. But I feel like these investment grade purchases, collectibles are just another investment class at this point in time. And I think that something like Pokemon is very special because of the age demographics of who collected Pokemon in '99. And we'll go through this in intellectual and fun way, proving out that Pokemon is one of the best possible investments you can make.
That's the best way to do it. But first, I want to get into a little bit of your origin.
Yeah.
So how did the whole toy game for you begin?
Okay. So I'll make it efficient-ish. So I was a kid collector, man. I was one of those kids that loved collecting everything, cards and memorabilia and everything else. And I also am a guy that really feels like you got to follow your passions in life. And so when I finished undergrad, I went to law school, and law school sucked, and I sucked at it. I was bad at it, and I knew it right away. So I created, I was watching TV one night, and there was a lady on TV talking about the fact she was creating a series of websites and buying and selling advertising space on her sites. And I thought, why don't I do that? That's a way to pay for law school. Mm-hmm. And it just so happened to be Yahoo was a brand new search engine. And I named everything with 2 A's, and I fooled Yahoo. So I had absolute Beanie Babies, absolute Furby, absolute this, absolute that. And I was listed number 1 in every search category in the collectible class on Yahoo. So it was great. I mean, dude, listen, as a kid, I was the one kid that looked at the phone book and realized if you have 2 A's, you were the better plumber than if you had 1 A. Mm-hmm. And frankly speaking, there was no algorithm to go by with Yahoo. It was just dumb. And so I was like, this is the easiest thing ever. And so I had 20,000 people a day coming through after about 6 months, and I was easily paying for everything. At that time, I started investing in domain names because I wanted more eyeballs on what I was doing. So I bought like act.com and all these.
What year was this?
97.
So you got act.com, and that was just a publicly available domain at the time, or you bought it from somebody else?
$1,000. I paid $1,000. I sold it the next year for $500,000.
How does
1
that
year.
happen? Was that just the boom of the internet, or what was it?
Yeah, it was people not knowing what they had.
Got it.
And essentially, this was a company that was kind of going out of business, and they had the acronym ACT. And so I picked it up for $1,000 on Yahoo collectible boards or whatever the heck it was. And yeah, and I remember at the time I'm like 23 or 24 years old, and I get this phone call, Mr. Padawer, we'd like to offer you $300,000 for act.com. And I said, nah, no thanks. And I hung up the phone. And I'm like, just going about my day, making a turkey sandwich, whatever. Dude, I'm living in a $300 apartment. It was outrageous. The fact that I was so cool about it. And they called back, all right, Mr. Padawer, we're going to make a counteroffer, 500 grand. All right, let's do it. I mean, it was that cash. And I'm like, whoa. And you think about it, you're like, okay, I paid for school. I paid for grad school. Now I'm just going to do whatever I want. And because I had the background in toys, and because I had the internet background, and at the time I was like, I don't want to be a lawyer. This sucks. And so I had an interesting business background. So I went to Vanderbilt after that, and I went to business school at Vanderbilt. They gave me a scholarship because they didn't know what else to do. And the rest is history. I got recruited to Mattel, and I've been in the toy business for 20 years. I was at Mattel for 3 years. I went into a upstart company called Jakks Pacific in 2003 and ran the wrestling business and all their boys business, and became the head of the Malibu group there. And then we started a business and came in on a startup, Wicked Cool Toys, which recently got acquired by Jazzwares. And today we're one of the top 10 toy companies in the world.
Congratulations on that. And that
Thanks,
was a
man.
very well laid out,
Well, I didn't want to bore you. What can I say?
No, that was great. So how did you get back in or really get back into the Pokemon game? Because I have in my notes that you helped, Pokemon take a really big leap adapting toys from like the live action films and stuff like that. So how did all that kind of come to be? And then you deciding that now in today's day and age, it makes sense to, pick up a few things here and there.
Yeah. So, and we'll do some show and tell, but let's see. I originally got involved with Pokemon in 2006. Okay. Hasbro had been the original toy partner of Pokemon. And it was a phenomenon in the late 90s. It was just crushing it in the late 90s. But by the time 2005 and 6 came along, it wasn't at its peak anymore, as you can imagine. And so we had a smaller toy company at the time, and we took over the Pokemon business. And they were launching their 3rd generation. And every time they launched a new generation and new Pokemon came out there with a new region, it would blow up again. Well, nobody knew that yet. And we had great timing. And so between 2007 and 2012, we managed the business. And then when we started the new company, in 2016, 17, Pokemon was looking for a new partner again, but this time they invested in my company. So not only did I have the global brand opportunity for Pokemon, but I also had Pokemon as a business partner. And once that happened, man, it just opened up the whole world. So my partners and Pokemon together, we then, shortly, and then Go hit. Nothing is better than that. So as you can see, Pokemon changed my life. There's 2 brands that have made the biggest impact on my life. One is WWE, because I managed the WWE business, classic superstars, all that great stuff created back at Jakks 2003 to 2009, 2010. And the second is Pokemon, because Pokemon believed in us and believed in what we were doing, myself and my partners, gave us the opportunity, and it was a tremendous benefit. So to invest in Pokemon is the easiest thing that you could imagine for me, not because I have some crystal ball, but because I can look backwards. And 2 things, okay? Number one, I know very specifically this data point. 1999 is 21 years ago, all right? The Pokemon kid 21 years ago was between 6 and 12 years old, which means now today they're 27 to 32, 33 years old. They're not in the money yet. They're not in the thick of their career like me. I'm 46. I'm old, okay? The guys that are old were the Magic guys from 1993. If you look
Mm.
at the Magic the Gathering Alpha Black Lotus card, it's a $750,000 card now. Okay, even $1 million card. There's nothing in the Pokemon universe that goes that level yet. I think it will one day, and I think it has a lot to do with the age demographic of the brand. And so that was one of the reasons why I jumped right in on this purchase.
Wow. I mean, it
Dude,
makes perfect sense. Why aren't more people talking about it like they are sports cards, do you think?
because sports cards have a multi-generational legacy. Okay, so it's a handoff from parent to child that goes back into the late 1890s, 1880s. And really, sports cards as a collector item that actually goes up in value has been something that's been very clear for multiple generations. Well back into the 50s, you can find that cards sold for premium value. If you go back into the 50s, you can find that the Honus Wagner card also already had a premium value.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same when you have a brand new thing. So Pokemon in 1999 is brand new. So the kids are making it up as they go, right? So if you look at this set right here, this Pokemon 1999 base set that I will show you in this very glamorous box. This set 5 years ago that I just paid $129,500 for was around $35,000. And if you go back 5 years prior to that, it was around $12,000. And you go back 5 years prior to that, it was around $3,000. So what I'm saying is the 30-year-old kid 5 years ago was 25, 5 years before was 20, 5 years before was 15. Wait till that kid is 45. Trust me, I'll be old but because today I'm 46 myself. But you know what? I'll be around and I'll have one of the coolest items ever because there's only 11 PSA registered complete sets, 1 through 102. And the 12th is sitting right here.
That is incredible. So I want to dive into your personal collection and investment before you show off some of the stuff. I just want to ask, for the kids out there hearing you make a very persuasive argument, in terms of why, that people should consider getting into the market instead of blowing all their money in like basketball cards or baseball cards. A lot of those, nobody knows what the hell is going on. What would your best advice be for somebody just getting into that and thinking about that coming from like a sports card side?
Yeah, I'd say it's not too late. And that's the coolest thing. So if you're looking at I would say trading card game business, then you go back to 1993 with Magic and the Alpha cards, which they did 1,100 of each style. Some of them are extremely over-the-top expensive. Others are not there yet. There's still an opportunity there. You go to 1999 with Pokemon, there's a massive opportunity because you don't have to do what I did. You don't have to put out, like today, I'd say $150,000 to buy a complete set. You can focus on things that you love. There's 102 cards plus a couple variants. Okay, so 104 total. The holo cards are cards 1 through 16, and they're the most expensive. But if you go to card like number 58, there's a Pikachu Yellow Cheeks and a Pikachu Red Cheeks variant. In PSA 10 condition, they're about $450 for Yellow Cheeks and $1,200 for Red Cheeks. Dude, that's LeBron and Jordan right there at $450 and $1,200. Why? I don't get it. And if I look at the PSA population report by unit and I go 1 through 102, I see that the hologram cards, the Shadowless First Edition, which are the best ones, have real premium value, no doubt. But then you dive into it, and the population report for like the Pikachu cards, there's only a couple hundred in that pristine condition. They're way undervalued, in my opinion. Now, keep in mind, I'm still the global toy partner for Pokemon. So I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this in the capacity because I make toys. I have no access to the cards. If I want to go get cards, I got to go buy them like anybody else. But my insight is into age demographics, consumer behavior, and numbers. I love analytics. And when I look at the analytics of this, I go like, it definitively doesn't make sense to me because I know the sports card market, probably not as intimately as everyone, but I know math and I know macroeconomics really well. So when I look at the card set today, I say, okay, what is the population of each card? the holographic cards, holos 1 through 16, the PSA 10s, they're not that significantly fewer of those. So I think that this set, what's going to make this set into $1 million set 10 years from now, is not the fact that the Charizard card, which I'll show you, is 50 grand. It's the fact that the Pikachu is $400. It makes no sense. So just wait and see. That's what's going to drive this thing. So what I want you guys to know, what the original question was, is how do people get into this business? What I'm telling you is it's just not fully baked yet, because the consumer, the age of the consumer, was still too young to be fully engaged when it comes to capital. And they're not handing off from their parents who have the capital to have invested in this. So that's what's really going on. And once you get beyond Pokemon, go a couple more years to Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2002. I have the PSA 10 Blue Eyes White Dragon card, the grail of Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay? Go a little bit further.
That's the Jordan PSA 10?
That's the Jordan, baby. And you go a couple years later, and you get into Neopets. And you go a couple years later, and you get into Animal Crossing. And
you think those last two are going to last?
Dude, yeah.
You think they're going to live? You think they have life in them?
They're going to live. You know why they're going to live? Because everything that a kid has the opportunity to be emotionally attached to, that has a limited supply, has a significant valuation later when that kid comes into cash. Because you love what you're introduced to when you're a kid. And I think that when people fully embrace that and they say, okay, the sports card market has this handoff from generation to generation. Well, there's a limit when it comes to some of these trading card games. You don't get here. Grandpa doesn't have these, doesn't know what they are, okay? Grandpa's got the cash, but Grandpa has no awareness. This is going to be up to this generation to bring this up. And trust me, they will. Trust me. And that's macroeconomics.
I was reading online, you also, did some TV work with Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
So you obviously know these shows. Like, I grew up on the SpongeBobs of the world. Do you think in a 2040 world, shows like that and everything associated with that have life as well?
I think so. It just depends on whether it's a collectible platform that it's attached to. Okay. So for instance, I have some really cool figure stuff. I mean, I've manufactured action figures my whole life. Right. And so, but yeah, it just depends. Like, do I think like a pillow plush SpongeBob is going to have premium value? There's limitations to the value. But if SpongeBob had a collector card game, and collector card gaming is known for valuation, or SpongeBob had a figural line that had a 1 of 1,000 limited edition and it's known for that, then yes, definitely. Because anything that you're emotionally attached to as a kid that is connected to the right platform and connected to the right scarcity is going to have value later on. I believe that. So the stuff that's happening right now, Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, those types of things, the right attached platform. Now, a lot of stuff is digital today. So a lot of stuff that we played with physically, tangibly, is now digital. I don't know how that ultimately vets out. I know that digital assets have value. So I get digital assets.
Pokemon Go accounts selling a few years ago. Yeah.
Oh, dude, definitely. 100%. So yeah, I think that anything that as a kid you could be emotionally attached to is going to have potential valuation later.
What I have to ask, what was your reaction to the Pokemon Go phase?
I thought it was great. I thought it was crazy. I mean, can I tell you something? The Pokemon Go phase never ended. Pokemon Go is still one of the biggest revenue producing apps out there. But the craziness, like that shock and awe where people are running down the street in droves, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in my life. But what it proves is the power of a brand that you connect to as a child and still is important to you later on is about as powerful as it possibly gets, which is the reason why these boxes of cards and the individual PSA cards, especially from the initial launch of that 1999 first edition shadowless cardstock, is like gold, in my opinion.
You're definitely spot on with that. Now, how diversified are you in your collectible inventory? Do you just collect Pokemon cards? Do you branch out into sports
Oh,
cards?
yeah, I mean, I'm branched out. I mean, I've got some Pokemon, I've got some Yu-Gi-Oh. I picked a few things out to show you today that are kind of like off the beaten path, because again, I'm a toy guy, so I understand things from that world, and sometimes I bring that into the way I collect. But yeah, sports cards, memorabilia, autographs, figural stuff. A lot of the figural stuff that I created myself. Like if you go back, like I've got a really large wrestling following from classic superstars specifically, which is one of the brands that I created. And I will tell you, like, there's a rabid fan base, for a lot of that stuff.
I love it. So without any further ado, do you want to show a couple of things you've got?
Yeah, why not? All right, first of all, we're going to do a little show and tell on the Pokemon base set, which, again, even though I paid that big grip of money, I think it was a tremendous value. So I'm going to tilt this computer screen down. All right, very unceremonious box. I've got a much better case coming in the next few days. But if I open this thing, first thing you can see is it's like stacks of cash. Look at that, baby. It's just stacks of cash. All right, so let me do my first official unboxing of all time, and I'll take out some of this stuff. But what I want to show you is these.
You haven't opened it yet?
Oh no, I've opened it. But wouldn't that be awesome if I hadn't? No, I haven't. I've never even looked at it.
You could have played it off.
Hold on, let's recut this. No, I'm kidding. So I'm going to show you guys a couple holo cards, which are the most valuable cards in Pokemon, at least in the 99 base set. And then I'm going to explain to you why it's shadowless. So let's start here and talk about the most valuable card in this set, and probably the most valuable card in Pokemon in terms of regular release cards.
Charizard?
Yeah. And that is the Charizard. So first of all, here we go. This
is a 10? Are they all 10s?
100% 10s.
Wow.
So here's the beauty of this. There's only a certain number of 10s on each style of the first edition Shadowless. This is all of them curated into one set. There's only 11 sets in the world that have been curated. This is number 12. That's the reason why I'm saying, dude, this is next level stuff, right? So for me, yeah. So for me, as I've grown my business and even getting acquired and all that stuff, I'm living my dream. This is what I wanted to do when I was 8. Mm-hmm. And it hasn't changed. And the fact that I've been able to be involved with the creation of some of these brands is also a bit mind-boggling to me. But I'm just telling you, that's a whole other subject and topic. But you can absolutely follow your dreams and they can come true. And it doesn't change you. It doesn't have to. So back to Charizard. You ready for this?
That's great advice, though. Wow.
So here we go. This is the PSA 10, right? And so the question is, what makes this shadowless? So if you look right here at the side of the card, okay, at some point in time, the brand manager or the people that were working at Pokemon decided that this little area here was not exciting enough. And they added a shadow, a drop shadow, to give it dimensionality. And so that's the difference between the shadowless and the unlimited sets. The unlimited sets, where they created a lot more, zillions of cards, have a little drop shadow back there. Okay. In addition to that, you can see here this little first edition call out. I don't know if you can see it. Is it right there? You see where it says first edition?
Yes.
So that first edition call out is only on the initial card stock run. So the shadowless first edition are the first cards that came off the print for Pokemon. And so the set was 102 cards, and there's only a certain number of PSA 10s per card. What this set represents is every single card in that initial base set in gem mint condition. So that's the first card, that is Alakazam. And now I'll just show you one more so that we don't get bogged down in this base set. But this is the one that I feel is probably like I said, it's the Jordan, and yet it's not priced like the Jordan. It's card number 58, and it is
That's the Jordan, and the Charizard is the Wagner.
exactly. You got it. You got it. So the Charizard's Wagner, but I'm going to show you a card that no one's ever seen, no one even knows I have, and it is the Wagner. But I'm going to show you that too in a second. Okay, this, my friend, was the initial Pikachu that came off with red cheeks. This card sells for around $1,200–1,300. I think it should be selling for many, 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 many multiples of that. And then they switched to the yellow cheeks.
Got it.
You can see the difference here.
Which one do you think is a better investment if you have the money?
Both.
Got it.
So let's just put it this way. If I only have $1,300, I'm going to go eat some food. But if I have a little bit more and I can cover food, because I've been there, my friend. If I can only cover food, eat the food. But if I can get in a collectible, I get the nicest collectible that I can afford. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go out and get the red cheeks, because the red cheeks is the more rare variant. But if I have $400 or $500 to spend, I get the yellow cheeks. Because at the end of the day, you're still participating. You're in the game. You're in the game. Even if you go get the energy cards that sell for the lowest price in the entire set, you're still in the game. And you know what you get to do when you're in the game? You get to root for everybody else. Because if you have the $200 card that one day gets to be $500, you're part of the win. It doesn't matter. You're part of the game. And that's the beauty behind cards. It's a community. This whole world of collectibles is a community. And when you're in, no one cares whether you've got $1 million invested or that you've got $100 invested. It's a mentality. It's a mindset. And it surpasses everything. There's no race. There's no gender. There's only the psychology and the philosophy of collecting. And
totally.
That's what I love about it.
And it's a hell of a lot more fun than investing in stocks or anything like that. It's not even a comparison.
No comparison. And it is an investment class. I mean, this is a class of investment, man. This is something that we need to start taking very seriously, because I think the returns are phenomenal.
Spot on about that. And I think the internet is only helping that.
So I'm going to show you, I'm going to keep it in the Pokemon universe. And the next thing I'm going to show you, I'm just going to get cooler and cooler here for a second. Okay.
That's great.
So the next thing I'm going to show you is, so every year I have the benefit of going to the Pokemon Partnership Summit, which is like amazing, right? And it's where they talk to all their licensees. And there's a golf game. And I'm going to tell you, if I tell you I suck at golf, it's an underrepresentation of how bad I am at golf. Like, I'm the worst golfer that you've ever seen.
Okay.
But it means I still get to hang. And at the end of the day, they do this raffle. And Mr. Ishihara is one of the creators of Pokemon. And they give away the different flags. So this is one of the Partnership Summit flags. This was off of hole number 14. This was the golf tournament in Nashville. And I just thought this was so cool. So I had to show. That
is super cool. It's one day off from my birthday too.
Oh, right? That's cool. That's very cool. But that's not necessarily like a grail situation. This is a grail situation. So, all right. At one of the partnership summits, they handed out Mr. Ishihara's 60th birthday card.
Oh. And
there's only maybe 50 of these out there. And there's only one PSA 10.
No way. And that is so dope.
This is it. So
that's so cool.
This is one of the grail cards of Pokemon. And it's probably one of the least known because there's literally none. It was at a dinner.
What?
This is it. PSA 10, so population 1. Crazy, right?
Sheesh. So he handed them out for his birthday.
Well, they celebrated him, and they made these for him, and then they gave them to the partners. And I was just, I get to say that, yeah. So the PSA 10.
Do you think that the other partners valued it or knew what it was, from a all right, monetary standpoint as much as you?
I'm going to tell you what really happened. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. You can share with everybody. It's okay. I have nothing to hide. I missed the dinner. I went home early, and I was so pissed off that I missed this, and I was so like jealous that I waited and I watched the market to see if any of these would ever show up. Well, right after the dinner, a PSA 9 showed up, and it sold for like 12 grand, and it should have sold for like 50. But I don't think people knew it yet. It was setting the market. No one even knew it was real. They're like, what is this thing? And then after I sold the company, I'm looking around and I see Population 1 PSA 10 Ishihara and bought it. So this was a big purchase, but I think it's worth like many, 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 many multiples what we ended up paying for this.
That's amazing.
So there you go. There's the Grail Ishihara PSA 10. Mr. Ishihara, one of the coolest guys out there, one of the creators of Pokemon, and a very unusual card. So I'm putting it back in its layer for later look-sees. And now, you want to make a quick transition to another thing that I like a lot, but within the sports card universe?
Yes.
So when I was a kid, actually I wasn't a kid. I was like 16 years old, but I still have 15. But to me, it's a kid now because I'm old.
I agree. I'm 19, so.
Yeah, look at you. By the way, you are remarkably impressive, man. Like 19 years old. Look what you guys. I want to know more about how you went about doing this. I know you've talked about it enough, so I'm not gonna bore all your people.
No, we'll hop on the phone later for sure.
All right, good. So in 1988, there was something called Starting Lineup that was launched. And Starting Lineup were these little figures prior to McFarlane, right? So McFarlane came out and I think from 2003 to 2019 made the figures. But before that, it was Starting Lineup. Starting Lineup was owned by a toy company, by Kenner. Kenner also made the original Star Wars figures. So that company was purchased by Hasbro. But I have the only BGS 10 Jordan rookie, 1988 Jordan. Well, it's the Jordan rookie starting lineup. So it's the 88 Jordan. And I think that this card is so undervalued. Right now, the PSA 10s go for around $1,500. There's only one BGS. BGS tends to be a harder grading service.
Much harder, yeah.
And so I picked this up for around $5 grand. But I personally think that starting lineup cards are so undervalued. And so I have all the Jordans, and the only other one that I have that kind of fits into that genre is the 96 Kobe True Rookie.
Ooh.
So that's the PSA.
Very nice.
So, but they did a beautiful job with these cards. I mean, they were really, really nice cards. And I think they're way undervalued because they came with a toy, essentially, or the toy came with the card. But at the end of the day, like, I think that this is just a kind of a real exceptional toy-oriented card. And I'd like to see what happens with that over the course of time.
Yeah, I can see you have a thing for populations of one.
I don't mind them that way. I mean, I think that the reality is it's tough to get a true Pop 1 item unless it's something a market that hasn't necessarily proven itself yet.
Totally.
Or if it's in a market where that's been truly undervalued. I think starting lineup is undervalued. It's very meaningful. The cards are cool as heck. And I think that you're going to see those go up in value. But that kind of exhausts some of the things that I was going to show you. I do have one more. We're launching Micro Machines later this year. I don't know if you remember Micro Machines as a kid, but you may be a little too young. But Micro Machines was like the coolest micro brand of vehicles in the 90s. And there was a super fast talking guy that used to pitch Micro Machines. So what I have here is an item that we're actually going to be giving away for charity. And it is a Micro Machines made out of gold and diamond.
Wow.
Actually, you can kind of get the sense of and we're going to be doing that with the launch of Micro Machines. We're going to be doing some sort of charity-based, charity-driven auction. I think this has 650 diamonds on it. So,
oh my God. Where are people going to be able to find information on that?
We'll probably announce it on our company socials, but that'll be soon.
Awesome.
But listen, man, I mean, I think just to kind of dive a little bit more into just sort of the love of collectibles and you know, like how to turn that into a career and stuff like that. I certainly think that you're going down that path in a mainstream way too. So.
Definitely have fun with it, you know, and I love seeing that you have and made it an entire, like a big part of your life, you know, which is so amazing.
Oh, sure.
What would, you know, you tell your 18, 19-year-old self if you could go back and tell yourself one thing? Not, you know, invest in all the OG Pokemons the second they come out.
Oh man, that would have been sweet advice. I mean, you know, I think that practically speaking, that knowing certain things about your future would make you avoid them. Like the path to success for me was really bumpy. I mean, I had some really challenging times. And would I do it again knowing how hard it was, noting that I could have just been a very good executive with a great paycheck and a cool house? Did I need to be this entrepreneur who shot for the moon? I will say being here right now, hell yeah, it was definitely worth it. But that conversation with that kid would be tough, because what I'd be telling that kid is, you have got to really lay it out there. You've got a choice, kid. Either you can have a really comfortable life where you do most of the things that you want to do, but you don't get to do all the things you want to do. Or you can roll the dice, really roll the dice, follow everything that you love, follow your dreams, have a shot at trying to become Willy Wonka, and maybe having the chocolate factory, but maybe having to start over when you're in your 40s. And it's up to you. Because what you don't want to do is tell them the whole path. Like you can't say, hey, listen, go just buy the 99 Pokemon cards and put them away. Because then what else would you do? I don't think I would do anything. I mean, honestly, I'd be like, sweet. I mean, I got 100 PSA 10 perfect sets of Pokemon sitting in the garage. I'm done for the rest of my life.
Right.
You don't want to do too much.
Yeah, it's like the you know, what one of the things I took away from that was you know, if you go back and tell yourself the path, it's like the butterfly effect, where it then changes everything along that course.
100%.
So you can't really do it.
The person you end up with, the people that you date along the way, the mistakes that you make, all of that turns you into who you are. So, I mean, I think I'd have to leave it a pretty generic communication to myself, which is that, you know, follow your instincts, follow what you love. It's going to turn out great. And if you are brave enough to really, really try something and literally jump out of a plane without a chute and try to put something together on a piece of paper that's a blank piece of paper, it's probably going to work in your favor because you have the ability to do it. And you know what? I see that in you. Like, I see what you're doing over there, and it's really, really impressive. So in some ways, I get to kind of have that conversation, because here you are, a guy who's making it happen, very young, and certainly ahead of where I was. And you know what? You and your team are going to achieve some really remarkable things along the way.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
And you are a very inspiring person. So we got to let the people know where they can find you on social media to get a little bit more of that on a day-to-day.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So on Twitter, it's at Jeremy Com, JeremyCom. And on Instagram, it's just my name, Jeremy Padawer, Padawer. And I tend to do a lot of collector giveaways because my mindset is I'm at that point now where it's give back time. So the process is this: follow your dreams, prepare for that, work your ass off. But when you achieve them, you've got to give back. You've got to give back. You've got to pay it forward. Tell people the strategies that you use to get where you are so that they can get there too. Because it's a challenging world. And at the end of the day, you know, too many people have success and then they hide under a rock. And I've never understood it. And it doesn't make sense to me. Like, okay, so what are you afraid of? You afraid someone's going to come and take it? Like, don't you have insurance for that? Like, right? At the end of the day, didn't you insure everything? I did. So yeah, I'm not afraid to talk openly about how to be successful, how to achieve success, and to honestly, along the way, to try to enjoy it as much as possible, because you have to give up something to get something.
Totally. Well, my man, you're pushing the next generation forward with that mentality. So
Good.
man, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. I can't wait to continue following up with you and have me back. I'd love to talk to you from time to time and see where you're at.
Perfect. Huge thank you again to Jeremy for coming on the show. That was an absolute blast. Might have been my favorite episode. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, subscribe, comment. See you in the next episode. Peace.